All right, so in typical startup grind fashion, we always introduce and welcome our guests. So I think the way Raj says it is, pretend you're at a Beyonce concert. Let's all get up and give these guys a round of applause. Come on up.
Take this one?
Yeah, sure, whatever works.
Do you need one of these? Right?
We're gonna pass that one back and forth.
Okay, here you
We're
go.
getting really creative. I want this water bottle out of the shot, though.
Nice. I need mine in the shot, so I have
I'll keep this one in the shot because Startup Grind's also brought to you by Riot Pop from System Seltzers.
Mine's just an Nalgene covered in fish stickers. So.
Like the band, or? Okay.
I'm just really telling on myself here. Yes. Oh my gosh! I just wrote a book, team. Woo! It is called Profit Generating Pipelines. So if anybody enjoys what we talk about here and wants to go deeper, think about picking up a copy at your local and independent bookstore or Amazon. But you know.
Madison Bookstore on Madison and Aberdeen sells it. That's where I got my copy.
This is correct. Yes. Delivered. It's proof. Yes. I just dropped it 2 weeks ago, and it debuted as the #2 USA Today best-selling business book in the entire country.
Yeah.
Woo! And in that book, there's an entire chapter just on cold copy, specific to cold email. This is one of my absolute favorite topics that I talk about and that I work with my clients on. And generally, I'm doing top of funnel work with my clients who are $30 to $50 million orgs. And then I hold a little bit of time for early stage founders because there is an energy with early stage founders that you just don't get anywhere else. So super excited to be with all of you today.
You know, also, she's not saying this, but she has one of the top sales TikTok accounts. Can you tell them about that?
I'm very famous. I do. I was the first B2B sales creator to share tips on TikTok. I literally was like making the hashtags for the, all the terms that we use, all the kind of like, SaaS tech jargon. Super fun. So I have almost 50,000 followers there. I also have over 50,000 followers on LinkedIn. I'm a LinkedIn editorial top voice. I'm a sales beacon. I'm a literal like #1, like top 1% creator. So if you want to be just inundated with my knowledge, you can follow me across every single social platform there is. I'm a chronically online human.
What is the TikTok account?
Sales Tips Talk, because I didn't say it out loud to anybody, not a single person, before I locked in that handle. So Sales Tips Talk.
Better than just Tip Talk.
I mean,
Nice.
I feel like TikTok doesn't make sense.
I feel like Tip Talk can go in a totally different direction.
Yeah, so I mean, it's good, but it is, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to say out loud.
Yeah. Should we talk emails?
Yes.
Well, first you need to introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Can you talk about me first?
Okay. Well, it's hard to hype up the Startup Hypeman, but RajNATION is the Startup Hypeman. He works with early stage founders mostly to work on their pitch and actually tell a story instead of tripping over words. You say it way better than me though, but I'll just say that I also get to work with Raj, and it is a pleasure both on Startup Grind and Startup Hypeman. Very thoughtful guy and a good leader.
Thanks. And I'll say Sid is a very, what's the word? I was talking to Jason at Code Launch about this. Ownership mentality is what Sid has. So great to have on the team. Sid does a really good job when we work with startups of writing the founder's story and shaping it into a manifesto that they then share with investors to further get their point of view across. So it's really cool stuff. And then as Vishal was saying, I'm a rapper as well. Look up RajNATION on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen. All one word, RAJ Nation, because there is another artist that's RAJ Spacebar Nation. It's a very different genre. So RajNATION, all one word. The album's called Goat to Market. And I do yoga teacher as well down the street at Brooklyn Boulders, and a professional MMA ring announcer and TV broadcaster. So if you ever want to come out to one of those events, I'm often doing them in the greater Chicago area. And I got involved in a cool league more recently that is cage night fighting. It's funny when you hear it and then you're there and you're like, this is the best sport I've ever watched in my life.
What's it? Knight?
Like KNIGHT.
Okay.
So they are in full coats of armor.
It is okay.
Full coats of armor, like 80 pounds of armor, head to toe, chainmail and everything.
But there are swords.
Real weapons.
There are swords.
No,
There are
real weapons.
It's like MMA meets LARPing.
Exactly.
I'm in.
Exactly. So it's fit LARPers. They use real weapons. They can either use a sword, a mace, a hatchet, or an axe, a two-handed axe. But the weapons are blunted, and you can't make stabbing motions. But other than that, like you're hearing like metal clank on metal, and it is a ton of fun. And there's a streaming deal being worked out right now. Like this thing is going to take off. So if you've ever enjoyed going to medieval times in your life, if you watch Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, pro wrestling, MMA, any of that stuff, you will love one of these events. It's called Armored MMA.
I'm in. I'm
Let's
sold.
stop
talk about
plugging
cold
other
email.
things now.
Now let's talk about cold email. Just to get a feel for the audience really quick, how many of you are founders? Raise your hand if you're a founder. Okay, cool. And then how about seller or any other go-to-market role? Okay, good mix. That tells us that there's we got a big diverse audience to cater to.
Especially sitting in the widest line possible.
They turn in my head. Awesome. Well, I want to start with, I guess it's a softball, probably one of the hardest questions, which is, what is a cold email and how is it different from a marketing email? What about it makes it so cold?
You want to take it?
Sure. I think this is a really legit question. We were on a prep call and decided that we should start here because so often folks will bring me in to audit their sales emails and then they will send me like a HubSpot newsletter. And I'm like, okay, respectfully, this is not a sales email. This is a marketing comp. I use HubSpot. I started on the 90% discount and now I spend just a grotesque amount of money with them. It's worth every penny. I love HubSpot. Speaking in inbound next month. See me there.
Oh,
See
okay.
me there. NBD. But I think there's a couple of differences. One is that in my opinion, a sales email should always come from an individual, like a real human being, not a hello at marketing at type email. And I think another difference is that with sales emails, you do not have the same privilege to talk about sort of product features or company announcements. They need to be much, much more relevant to the problems, the pain points that the recipient is facing. So I think marketing comms can be a bit more product centric and they can be from the company to recipients. Sales comms need to be much more problem centric and need to be from a specific person, it needs to feel like a one-on-one email.
Yeah, I think that's a great definition between the two. And I think the biggest sort of, almost mentally, the way I would bifurcate it is a marketing email is designed to be spoken to many people at one time. A sales email, you might be sending it to a lot of people at the same time, but it's designed to speak to one person at a time.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So in terms of cold email, what is the worst cold email you've ever received? Like, let's talk cringe.
Can I get the folder out?
Yeah, and by the way, I listened to the podcast on my way here, and I guess Raj has a folder of
Yes,
just
it is
bad
titled
prospecting
Bad
emails.
Prospecting Emails. And it gets filled weekly. So I will say, it's ironic, the highest number of cold emails I get are from lead generation companies who do a bad job of lead generation themselves. The second one I'll get, which isn't necessarily the same as like a sales email, but I get a lot of people who pitch to be on my podcast, which I feel like follows a similar idea anyways. It's a different like thing. They're selling me on themselves to be a free guest, but this was one from July 16th. Hi, Rajiv. Bold letters. I'll skip the usual BS pitch where I pretend I've listened to every episode of your show. We both know those emails are garbage, LOL.
LOL.
It's long,
so long.
but you can see there's like a lot of like bold
Wow.
in here and
Walls
all
of
this
text.
stuff. It keeps going. And this was one example, and I think
What's the call to action on that one? What do they want you to do?
The call to action is
7 to 10 paragraphs of the text.
at some point they were saying like this person would love to get on the show, but the call to action is just look forward to hearing from you.
And then a link in there too.
And a link, yeah. A link to the bio in one pager.
More reading.
Yes.
Yes,
So that's one example of what I would say is now in the top of bad cold emails. Here's another one that is pretty bad. This one's not terrible. It is in the bad email, but I think I can show you worse.
I mean, the bar is sort of in hell when it comes to emails, though. Like,
Yes,
they're
that's
mostly
true.
bad.
Oh, here we go. The merge tag didn't work properly on this one. So the title of the email is "Loved your comment on LinkedIn." Greetings, Rajiv. I noticed your comment, bracket, LinkedIn comment, quote. On Keenan's post regarding, here's where it gets better. Okay, on Keenan's post regarding divider line, I saw your remark, quote, for the first time ever. I actually did not notice the quote. Like, all the formatting broke down in this email, like everything you could possibly imagine, to where it doesn't form a coherent sentence, unfortunately. Like, even like the little like, if person is this, say this. If person is that, say that. That's also inside of this one email. I felt bad for them. Yes. But these are the kinds of emails I tend to get. There's also ones that will be like, I would say the most common attempt at trying to be quote unquote good that does not read well is, hey, I saw you did this thing. I have a service that can get you X, Y, Z over here and increase your ROI 25%, whatever. So the thing that they're talking about for why they're sending the email in the first place has nothing to do with the actual content of the email. And that to me is like, I'd rather you not even try to make it personalized and just level with me at that point. Like, hey, this is an email going out to a bunch of people, thought you might be one of them. That to me is going to be way more effective than fake, faux personalization, if you will.
Unless it's like, I saw you like Venmo, so I gave you $5 or something like that, right?
Well, I mean, to that note, there is a lot of the, can I send you a $5 Starbucks gift card or something like that?
I find that deeply offensive. We'll have to come back to that because I have some opinions and they're strong. I think bad emails for me fall into one of three categories. One is definitely like the disingenuous personalization. And it's either like, hey, I saw you're a founder at Sales Led Go-to-Market. Or like, congrats on your Series A. Those ones where people just like read the news back to you and then they're like, and here's your widget. Or worse are the emails that are like, oh, you're so profound and all the work you're doing in the sales space is amazing. Anyways, what I sell is, those drive me nuts. I would say that's category one. Category two are the straight up spammy emails. I mean, we still see so many of those that are just like all bullet points and features, and they are largely irrelevant. I don't generally know why I got them. And then I would say the third one are emails that are like nagging emails, that are like, hey, I looked at your website, it's stupid and it sucks, and if you reply to this email, I'll tell you how to make it better. And I just so deeply believe that foundation of good cold sales outreach has to be trust. So starting by like bullying me is simply not going to be the way that you get a reply to begin building a relationship. So those are the three big categories for me.
I had one more.
Okay.
Have
you been getting bullied online?
No, it's more on the other one, on like the disingenuous, because this was from several years ago, but I remember it because it was so memorable for it not working. The personalization they used was, saw you went to DePaul, like that's where I went to college, saw you went to DePaul, my cousin also went there and would always talk about it at Thanksgiving. And I'm like, there's no way. Because no one who goes to DePaul talks about it. I love that school, but no one really talks about it. We have no good basketball team. We don't really have other sports teams. And I don't think at Thanksgiving any 19-year-old is talking up the academics of a university to their own family.
That's hilarious.
So that was like they did write it personally to me, but I just think the reach was way too much there for me to actually take that email seriously.
Okay, so now let's, first of all, I think it is easier to pick out bad emails, but let's go to the good, let's go to the inverse. What is a good email, the best email you've received? And since you guys are email connoisseurs, you can also say the best email you've written instead.
Okay.
Ooh, I don't know if there is a best email that I've received. I pretty much open every single email that hits my inbox just out of sheer curiosity, though.
What?
Yeah, so I would say I'm like a connoisseur of emails. I'm just like ruining people's open rates. They're thinking that they've done something, and I'm like, ooh, actually, I've just immediately routed it to the bad email folder to make fun of it in public later. Sorry, I won't name names at least. Good emails for me are a couple of things. First and foremost, they're relevant. So like we talk about the disingenuous personalization, and I will give people some bonus points for trying, but at the end of the day, like telling me that your cousin went to the same college I went to is deeply irrelevant. Like I don't need to know that information. Why are you wasting my time saying it? So relevance first and foremost, and then cognitive ease is a quick second. So writing emails that are extremely, extremely easy for me to mentally and visually digest, to know why you've sent it, why it's for me, and what you want me to do about it. I use a bit of a litmus test when I'm working with my clients called Earn the Right. And anytime they are writing an email or writing a script, anything, I ask them before they send it to say, what have I done to earn this, to earn the right to the recipient's time and to their attention? And I don't think we often consider that when we're sending emails. So we're kind of writing an email, maybe dropping somebody in a sequence, and we're just sending them off. But we are still asking for their attention, for their time to read and consider the email. So how can I make it easy for them, and how can I make sure that what I'm saying is relevant to them? That's how I earn the right to put an email in their inbox.
So I do also have a good cold emails folder. Ooh. And there's only 2 emails in it. And there's like 100 plus in the bad cold emails folder. So here's one of them that's pretty good. So I'm not going to read it verbatim, but a couple of years ago, I hosted in a week of startup events around the release of my rap album called Hype Week. And this person wrote, hey, I came across your Instagram page, was really excited to learn about Hype Week. The idea of celebrating startups and bringing together entrepreneurs, investors, and mentors is really inspiring. And the thing is, like, that exact copy was nowhere in any of my marketing. So like they didn't just like do a direct copy paste from what they saw somewhere else. I did not ever put that string of words together. And I know because I did all the I wrote all the marketing for it. I appreciate the effort to create a great event that's providing valuable opportunities like this. That being said, I couldn't help but notice with all this going on, your engagement on Instagram isn't as high as it could be. And then goes into a couple more things about, you know, where they're seeing potential improvement points. That to me, I was like, this person actually took the time and they made it to me and only to me, and they didn't insult me in the process. Yeah. And I think that's another thing that, and we can come to this in a little bit probably, but that's another thing that I think happens oftentimes is we accidentally insult our prospect. Separately, the best email I have ever written was to a company. Let me see if I can pull it up here quickly. It was to the CEO of a company called SearchSpring. Let me see here, Peter.
You saved your own email?
No, it's just like it's back in the inbox.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to ask.
But I would have it somewhere in like a saved
I was going to
cadence,
say,
right?
yeah, it might be nice to keep, you know.
So the email, and I will admit, this was 5 years ago, so some of the stakes have changed since, and I think what you can or cannot do. Subject line, Peter, saw you on this person's post.
This is not a quick question, friend.
Whoever the name was, Shalin Jane was the person whose post it was. Hey, saw you also liked his post on their company scaling to 10 million. Did you catch the part where he said success is most indicative of the team executing on their vision? Asking because I was clicking around SearchSpring and this seems relevant because in my convos with other companies, the CEO will tell me they're obsessed with standing out, but then their sales messaging and demo calls parade out product features instead of actually delivering their vision. And then they, in turn, get unfairly lumped in with their competitors, even though their brand is actually unique. I help growing companies scale towards that next revenue marker. Here's a quick video where I remix the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air explaining how it's done, which I will say that did help. But this has worked especially well for companies like Blueboard and Engagently, who have unique offerings and typically multi-stakeholder deals. Seems like this is perfect time for you. For SearchSpring, are you interested? Raj from Startup Hypeman. That was the email. Now, if you look at it, and you look at it on the phone, it's not a 2-sentence email, right? It's actually like, I don't know if you can see that.
A few walls of text.
Yeah, there's a few walls of text. It looks better on desktop, but on mobile, it's a little bit chunky. But that got a response within 1 hour. And the response was, I never bite on outreach of any kind. This is the first time I've replied in 14 months. When can you meet? And we set up a call for literally like 9 a.m. the next day. And they became a customer within 30 days of that. And then he also wrote a LinkedIn post saying, this was the best outreach I've ever gotten. And what's great is a good cold email can help set the tone for a good relationship too. Because if you can impress someone with the outreach up front, they're going to feel a little bit better about taking that intro call with you. And that, I mean, in a way, you could say because of them buying from me and then renewing over time, and then him taking me with him to the next company he went to afterwards, I could make a case that that one email returned in total like over 200K of revenue from one email. And the cool thing is that same email I sent to other people who commented on that post, and some of those also turned into meetings and deals as well. So that I will always say until I send a better one than that was at least my best example.
Yeah.
I think what's important though with a lot of this is like everyone talks about personalization, but the caveat to that is it's personalization, comma, with good reason. And that's where we get this disconnect or dissonance where it's like, hey, you're doing this amazing thing. Can I get you 10 leads in the next 10 days or your money back? Right? There's such a disconnect, and the personalization does not have any good reason behind it. So you've got to find a way to take whatever that hook is up front to tie it into your value prop. In my case, it wasn't just, I saw you commented on this person's post, I sell this thing. It was, saw you commented on their post. Did you notice where he talked about they're executing on their vision? That tends to be a problem for a lot of CEOs as their team grows. Maybe that's the case with you as well. That's the general flow of that email. It's not just you commented, therefore I'm reaching out.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the did you notice part because you're taking them somewhere new. It also helps that you can rap. So not everyone can send a custom rap video, but that's nice. Okay, so Leslie, I think I was reading something you posted, and it was basically about how cold outreach needs to pique curiosity instead of like a pitch. So like, how do you do that? How do you get inside the recipient's head and deliver on that?
Ooh, I respectfully stay out of their heads. Well, a couple of things. I think one of the most common mistakes that I see folks making when they are crafting outreach, well, sort of two under the same bucket, and that it's like y'all are trying to do too much. And that is both because we often put pressure on ourselves to make one email like the best email we've ever written in our entire lives, right? People are already shaking their heads, and so we want to talk about every single feature and every single benefit. And to come back to earn the right, like we've simply not earned the right to ask the recipient of that email to care about our features or our benefits yet. They care about the problems that they are trying to solve. And so what happens is that we write these emails that are too long and too wordy and too complicated and frankly, too self-centered because it's about our company and our features and what we care about. And then I think related to that is that we often feel this pressure to move quickly. And so we write emails and start sending them sort of one-off or a one-off LinkedIn connect or picking up the phone because somebody told us we should make cold calls. And we miss an opportunity to build sequences that allow us to be more thoughtful about which channels we're going to use, how we're going to use them, how we're going to space them out. And the real key with sequences, I find, is that it gives us then the space and permission to tell a story across multiple touch points. And so it takes a bit of that pressure off to like have one email that's the best email that's going to get every single person to reply. And we can just acknowledge that it does generally take more than one exceptional email to get replies. And that is the way that we have to approach cold outreach, is a little bit more systematized and methodical. And something I also think about often with like, how do I get folks to pay attention to my outreach, is a concept I call channel of choice, which means that I am not defaulting to where I want to communicate. I'm acknowledging that the folks that I'm reaching out to, they have different channels of choice where they're going to be most comfortable having a commercial conversation. It's why I work with all my clients on having at least 3 channels. And so the most obvious ones are some sort of social, usually LinkedIn, email, and phone, but they also could be events. They could be direct mail. It doesn't have to be those 3, but making sure that you are giving your prospects at least 3 different opportunities to find a channel where they're most comfortable engaging with you. So maybe I'll pause there to see what you want to add, but I would say generally, like, put less pressure on yourself to make every single touch point be this like end all be all perfect email, because perfection is a myth, and that's especially true in cold outreach.
I have a little bit different take in that so I'll say it and then I'll hedge what I mean by that. Like, if I write a cold email, in my mind, I want them to reply to that first email. They probably won't, but I'm writing it as if, so it's a little bit counter to what you're saying. I'm writing it as if that is the thing they want to look at. I want them to look at and get value out of. It doesn't mean I pour everything into that, though. It means I say just enough to pique that curiosity. Because the goal is to get someone interested, right? Which is why the most effective call to action I've ever used is 3 words. Are you interested? ? Not when can we meet? Not I'm available Tuesday at 2 and Thursday at 1. Not anything around meeting or time or any of that, or a call. It's just, are you interested? And you can write that first email, again, I'll write it with the intention that like this is like the beachhead or whatever. But the CTA is softer. Are you interested? Which allows the follow-up, and this tends to, I don't know why, but this tends to work. A second email that tends to work really well is friendly bump on this, smiley face.
I want to murder you.
It works.
This is where I rip my microphone off and walk out.
And then I just say again, are you interested? And then by like email 3, 4, 5, 6, if there's no response yet, and this is, I'll pre-program this, but it's like email 3 is going to have a little bit more content in it. Email 4 is going to point back to email 3. Email 5 is going to have a little bit more content in it. Email 6 is going to point back to email 5, and so on and so forth. And then, to your point, weave in like the LinkedIn connection with that as well. But if you weave that stuff in, I get pitched in my LinkedIn inbox every day, and it's novels that I'm asked to read.
Yeah.
Like it's the Moby Dick, the Great Expectations of like cold messaging that people have in their inbox. And you really have to think about, like, there's the message, but there's also the medium in which you are sending that message in. There's a general expectation that an email, or a general cultural understanding that an email could contain a certain amount of information in it, whereas there's not a general cultural expectation or tolerance for a inbox where the window is like the bottom 1/8 of your actual computer screen, having a lot of density to it. And yet, so many people put the density there. They put in the LinkedIn message what they would put, not even like, it's almost like more than what would be in an email sometimes. Whereas you can kind of use one to point to the other. Like your LinkedIn message could almost literally be like, sent you an email the other day, and that's it. You're just trying to get people to like look at the thing, pay attention, maybe look in the direction you want them to look in. The other thing I'll say too, that it's kind of like a funny flag that I have, that I'm able to suss out what's real and what's not. So my LinkedIn profile, my name on it is Rajiv, RajNATION, Nathan. But like, if you go to the form fields, if I edit my profile, first name is Rajiv, parentheses, or quote mark, RajNATION, quote, last name Nathan. So you can tell when someone's using a merge tag, because I'll get the message that says, hi Rajiv, RajNATION. And that to me is an immediate flag, this is going to a lot of people. If you are in someone's DM, you probably don't need to say their first name at all. They know what their first name is. And they know what your name is because your profile is literally right next to your name. So you don't need to say my name is or I am this or whatever. Like you're wasting time and attention with a person, and you can get to the point quicker. But
Yes.
murder
No,
me
that
on-
reminds
I was gonna say,
No,
Leslie
that-
has a rebuttal.
Pardon me, I have a rebuttal. No, that reminds me of my mom leaving voicemails. Hi, it's your mom leaving a voicemail. Yep, I saw it on the caller
I still get
ID.
text messages from my dad. Roger, this is Dad.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the heads up. Okay, you said a lot of stuff that I agree with. So let me stay on that wisdom first. Something that you said, maybe not in these exact words, that's important is that the purpose of our emails, the purpose of our sales outreach is to not make a sale over email. For most of us, it is to spark enough curiosity to start a conversation. And so I think that that's just important to explicitly state that when you are crafting your sales outreach, wherever it is, that your number one job is to be relevant enough to get them curious enough that they're willing to have a conversation with you. So stop trying to sell in your emails. Something else you said was, I call them CTA lights, like the are you interested, worth a chat, or you could pull a Chris Voss and say like opposed to learning more or not. People love it. The data says it works. I don't like it. It makes me feel icky, but the data says it works. But what I like to do in my sequences, it's one of the reasons I love using them, is that I will do escalating calls to action as I have earned the right to be more direct in my ask. So I will always start with the CTA lights. And then as I share more relevance, as I share more of an understanding of the problems that they are facing, maybe more insights, more value drops, I will get more direct in my calls to action. Then you said something else that I thought was quite good. What else did you say that was?
Method, medium, message.
No, I mean, LinkedIn, my general rule for LinkedIn is not more than 3 sentences. Anything more than that is too long. I mean, my general rule for emails is 110, 100. So one super clear, concise call to action. Like, don't ask them to look at something and also ask them a question about something and then also ask them to meet. Just one specific thing, because the moment we divide their attention, they will do nothing. They will take no action. 10 being the first 10 words of the email, including the subject line, because that's your opportunity to get them to see more. Like if you're thinking of it like a social media hook, or you're thinking of it even like an e-commerce website, you want to get them to hit that see more button. So make sure your first 10 words say something that matters. And then I say no more than 100 total words in an email. And then that gets shorter when you move to voicemails and when you move to text messages or move to LinkedIn stuff. No, it'll come back to me and then I will snatch the microphone out of your hands.
Do you want to hit me with the friendly bump one? Because you don't like
Bro. Here's what I think. I think that thoughts emails are lazy. Like, they drive me nuts. I think that we owe our prospects more. Strangers whose inbox we are invading, I think we owe them more than like thoughts, question mark, smiley face. But there is something to be said for why that type of email works, why like thoughts friendly bump email works. And it is because we generally stop following up way too early. So even a not very good email, as long as it means you're sending another email, is gonna work. So there is still something to that age-old adage that like you need at least 8 touches to get somebody to respond. That doesn't mean that you should wait till email 8 to write a good email. Every single one of them should be a good email. And the pivot I offer you from thoughts question mark is thoughts about your Startup Hypeman event next week. Just remind them what you want their thoughts about. It can still be a super simple like 1-sentence email, but give them a little something to work with.
On the earlier thing you were saying about like the Chris Voss like anti-CTA. So are you all familiar with this? Like,
Has anybody read anything by that Chris Voss, Art of Negotiate?
isn't it Black Swan or
Black Swan Group?
Never Split the Difference? Yes,
Yeah, thanks.
Black Swan is his
Steve has.
consulting group. I watched the master class on it, which was quite
really
interesting.
good.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
it was quite good.
So there's this school of thought of like, it's like an anti-call to action where instead of asking them for the thing, you ask them for the opposite. Like, not, the one I'll often see is like, would it be a terrible idea to explore this further? So now you're making a person be like, well, no, I guess it's not a terrible idea. So maybe I will say yes to this, right? It's almost like you're getting to say no instead of get to say yes, because the question is like a reverse question. So there's data that says it works. I just think it quickly gets overused and misused. Like I had one where someone asked, I honestly didn't know what I was saying yes or no to, because it was, it was like, would it possibly be a terrible idea to maybe explore this? And I was like, so I really couldn't decipher what the yes would be versus what the no would be. And I almost should just spend like the melty face emoji in response maybe.
Most used emoji.
So I think, like, again, if you're going to do something like that, like, still make it a very clear question. Like, they shouldn't have to decipher what the question is in order to answer the question. I really like CTA Light. It's like, it's only 60 calories. Exactly. Won't fill you up, but it'll never let you down. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, let's stay on that point though about like tricks.
Yeah.
Because I am so anti like tricks and tactics. And I think that like so many folks are looking for a silver bullet to make cold outreach easy, and like it just isn't. Like it takes work, it takes thoughtfulness, it takes intention to do a good job to earn the right to our prospects' inboxes. And in the time that we are chasing these tricks and tactics, we could be using, that space to like learn sales fundamentals and buyer psychology, or do research to ensure that our outreach is relevant. But one of the things that I see folks fall for often are the things like quick question or are you opposed? And there are these like cute little tricks that seem like they are going to work and often do work. And sometimes you can find the data to show that they work. But here's what happens. Quick question works. It works really, really well. So everybody talks about it. Everybody starts using quick question. And now our buyers' inboxes are flooded with quick question emails, to the extent that I know multiple folks, like clients of mine, who have a filter in their inbox and quick questions get automatically routed to spam now. And so ask yourself, it's not necessarily about like, is it going to work or isn't it going to work? Like, is it a foundational technique that I could use over and over again that isn't going to set off my prospect's mental spam filter because it is like the hot tip of the minute?
Yeah. I also think like to the kind of the foundation of a lot of this is like put your buyer first or put your prospect first, and like it might be a quick question that you're asking. It doesn't mean it's a quick response for them.
Yeah.
And it might be an actually.
Question, do you want to talk for 45 minutes on Tuesday?
Yeah. Your quick question might actually be like assigning labor to that person. And that, I think, a lot of this, I think what's important to consider is like, am I assigning labor to the person that I'm asking to meet with or asking for attention or whatever? And labor could mean this is hard to read because it's not that you have the wrong information, it's that you've formatted it in a way where it's huge, chunky paragraphs that just make it hard to read on the eyes. Like 1 to 2 sentence paragraphs is what someone will read. Yep. We're not picking this up to be, it's not a novel, right? If we opened a book, I'm sure, Leslie, in your book, there are plenty of paragraphs that are 4, 5, 6 sentences long.
So I did get some feedback that I needed to write less like a LinkedIn post, because some of them were a little too short.
For some reason, every sentence has an emoji after it.
Like the alt, alt arrow.
Why does page 1 of this book I just bought say, comment yes to get the free guide sent to, no. So that's that's potentially one way you're assigning labor. Is it's hard to actually read the email, and you need to parse out the information, like literally use spacing better in the email. Another way you might be assigning labor is what Leslie mentioned before, is like your email asks them to access a white paper, but also look at this case study and also see this video that shows the product, and also you want 30 minutes of their time. And then the trickery, I feel like, if you have to fool someone into a meeting with you, what is like the premise of your relationship with them now? Yep. I would much rather they go into that meeting, if they do say yes, they go in feeling confident about who they're about to speak with, rather than have their walls up, or almost feel like slighted in a way in the process.
What about bribing people?
Oh, so please talk about that.
So the question that I mumbled under my breath for Raj was, what about bribing people with Starbucks gift cards? Which I cannot even tell you how many times I have had this recommended to me, like by gurus, by managers, and it always comes from this place of desperation where you just want to get the meeting, you want to get somebody's attention, and like maybe this is the pattern interrupt, this is the thing that will get their attention. What I would say is that it is a deeply, deeply disrespectful show of how you value their time. Because if you think that the person that you are reaching out to for 15 minutes, their time is only worth $5, only worth $10, like that is a bit of a slap in the face. And I think that often when we are doing cold outreach, we sort of like get into these motions and we are putting ourselves and what is easy for us and what we can scale and what maybe we can like do quickly at the center of our outreach. And to Raj's point, we should at all points be centering our buyer and asking questions like, what labor am I putting on them? What have I done to earn the right to make this ask of them? And asking them to trade 15 minutes of their time for a $5 Starbucks gift card gives me such an ick. I think it's so disrespectful.
What about like buying someone coffee? Like, hey, I want to buy you a coffee. What do you think of that?
I don't know you.
Same thing? Yeah, okay.
You're saying like
I'm just kidding. I do know you.
Yeah,
and I would love if you bought me coffee, but that is because you have developed a relationship with me. Like I actually saw a really interesting TikTok thread last week, and it was a woman who is in sales, and she sells to either like the HR CMO demographic at an executive level, and so she has a lot of women who are clients, and she's getting advice from her male colleagues to like invite them out places. But these women are coming back and they're like, I don't want to go golfing with you. I don't want to go to a steakhouse with you. And so she tried to come up with new ideas. Like, do you want to go get a mani-pedi? Do you want to like go to the theater? And these women are like, no, I don't want to spend my valuable time after work with you, a total stranger who is only inviting me to do this thing because they want something from me in return. I'm going to go to yoga. I am going to go spend that time with my children. And so I think that we are in a bit of a new era of buyer and seller relationships, where relationships are extremely important, maybe more than important than ever because of this like AI sort of void of trust. But there's a higher like barrier to entry where we are like, where I think as sellers, we can say, I believe that it's worth your time to allow you to like, let me buy you a coffee. Because it's not the $5, it's the time that they're giving you that's much more valuable, I think.
Yeah.
So I sold at a time when in-person meetings were still like the norm as the first thing you would do. If you got a meeting, it wouldn't be a default Zoom. Back when, Vishal was working in that closet and I was on the company on the other side of the wall. So to that point, a lot of times you would set up a coffee meeting, but it wasn't like the premise of the meeting was I'm going to buy you coffee.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, let's meet. How about the Starbucks and the merchandise mart? And then when you show up, you're at the register, you're just like, hey, it's on me. It's like a courtesy you do once you're already with them. You're not using it as incentive to meet them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Before we move into more tactical stuff, I want to kind of pause on what you you and I talked about actually, which is kind of into buyer psychology. Raj, you mentioned like this feeling of being wanted and like actually going into when it comes to what people expect when they open their inbox.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Okay, so we were talking a few months ago about this, and this idea occurred to me that like we have to make, so a lot of times, you know, like general advice is like, hey, establish a problem. But you can also insult someone by establishing a problem, and that's not going to work. Like, you know, I think you were saying, like, someone will email and say, your website sucks, you're not doing this, this, and this. Well, now you just insult, there might be a problem you identified, but the problem is you, actually. The problem is phrased in a way that it does not make the other person feel good. So amidst all of this, I think what's a key element is you have to construct a message in a way that makes that person feel wanted or useful or necessary still. And so this would even bleed into like how you're describing the product, because a lot of times the way we describe our product actually takes away something that that person might enjoy doing. There's often times where it takes away something they hate doing, which is great. But I think a good, like, if you take a step back for a moment, have any of you ever checked your email on vacation? Like you say you're going to unplug, and then inevitably you check your inbox on vacation, right? Yes, we all do. Why do we do that? Is it because we love email? No, it's because we have an inherent desire to feel needed. We are checking our inbox to see, does somebody need us? Your email can be written in a way that would tap into that desire, that inherent desire to feel needed. It can also be done the exact opposite way, where it dismisses a person's desire to be needed. So this is how you have to think through the construction of your message. Can someone read this and not just be like, yeah, okay, but actually be like, I feel like I might have a role in this now. Like I have stake in this in some way. Again, we don't look at our email because we love email. Everyone actually hates email, right? I mean, we have an event on it, but like, I think we can all say none of us actually like love email as like an establishment of humanity. But we have to use it because that's where we've come with communication and technology. And we open this thing when we're on vacation because, and it's not that we're looking for sellers, we're looking for team members, right? Like Vishal, you're a CEO of Screencastify, you're on the beach, you look at your email on your phone because you're like, anyone on my team needs something right now, right? Or I missed something that's vitally important. That's the need to feel needed that makes us do that. So how can you write your stuff in a way that illuminates that? And honestly, you could actually catch someone on vacation, and maybe they will reply to you while they're on vacation.
Profound. I actually really like that. So in the interest of time, I want to
you got to unhide the slide.
Nice.
Sorry.
In the interest of time, I want to get into kind of the nitty-gritty and the tactical pieces. So let's look at a few emails. Okay, there we go. So let's skip the bad one. We're gonna glow up as promised and email live together. This
If you
came
can't
from,
see this well, I would just like move your body to the other side of the room.
Can I I don't know, I can't even really zoom in on that. So someone either in the audience or someone just emailed me this. Feel free to say who you are. If not, don't. Oh, okay. Thank you for being brave
Therese.
to share who
Yes.
it's from.
Give her a round of applause. Submitting your
Can
email
you see this? If
for a
not, I can
live
give you this
glow.
too. Okay. All right. So we have a live email.
Yes.
Maybe take a minute to read it. We all can.
So, and what was your name?
Therese.
Therese?
Yes.
Therese.
Yeah,
And so
we're
you
gonna
wrote this?
Yes.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for being vulnerable with us.
Are we just reading it?
Yeah.
to
Let's all
ourselves?
take both of you guys take a minute to read it,
Okay.
and then we'll love both of your takes.
I have a question, Therese, not to put you more on the spot, but based on what you've already heard Raj and I talk about tonight, is there anything that you would like immediately change about, like if you were self-auditing the email, is there anything that you would make adjustments to?
The need to feel needed. That piece.
Okay.
And I question on the wordiness of it.
It's very long.
Yes.
Yes. Here, I can share, while you're sort of going through it, I can share a general piece of advice that a lot of my clients have found very helpful. If at any time you feel compelled in your cold outreach to do a numbered list or bullet points, stop. Never, ever, ever do you want to send a numbered list or bullet points. The good news is that if you have clarity that you're like, for sure, these 5 things are the most significant pain points for this customer, these are the most significant problems that I can talk about helping them solve, you have everything you need to talk about in your entire sequence, but that's 5 to like 10 emails. And so what you want to do is make every single email about one of those areas, so that, to like Raja's point, it can be very focused on a specific thing, that you are able to do the 1 to 2 sentences with white space. So it looks like you've done a really good job getting a handle on what's most important to your audience, and you're just trying to pack too much into a single email. But like, kudos on having that clarity on what pain points are important to them.
Has everyone had a chance to read or skim this? Okay. So a couple things I notice is, and this might be specific to your market, but do you know the principal's name or no?
I will.
Okay.
So I will put that in place of.
Okay, all right.
Dear, what was that email you got? Like, dear LinkedIn post, LinkedIn
Yes.
post observation.
Okay, so it'll have the actual person's name. Okay. I think, so when we say tell a story, we mean it through email. It doesn't necessarily mean write a storybook. To me, this reads like a storybook. Like, I'd like to invite you on a journey with me to improve teaching and student learning. That's like page 1 of like the picture book, right? Like that, I think, that's almost like if you were standing on a stage and talking to people, that's how you would start. But someone's gonna wanna get to the point a little bit quicker, and in an email, they may not wanna go on a journey, right? They may just wanna have a problem solved. So I like that you highlight you're also a fellow educator. So you might be able to even just kick off with like, fellow educator here, wanted to connect because I've noticed something that I've been talking to a lot of other principals about what's happening in their schools, thought it might be happening in yours as well. And then rather than talk about light blue learning, you pick one of those, you pick whatever that pain point is. Lots of educators are having a tough time building curriculums that work for both their regulated and dysregulated students, and neurodivergent and non-neurodivergent. I'm riffing here if that's what it's about, but that can be kind of what the email is now built around. And then it's like, curious if this is happening for you too. If so, through all my experience as an educator, I built Light Blue Learning in a way that will actually work for the educator, work for the school, and help you get these kinds of outcomes for your student body. And then how do we end this email?
Quite a few CTAs down there.
We've got.
Would you be interested in learning more? Schedule a time with me here, or simply have teachers watch this and then.
Yeah. Okay. So that's 3 potential actions. Pick one of them, and it's probably, does this sound like it would make sense for your school? Are you interested? Let me know if you see a fit, something like that. But you could probably strip out like 50 to 70% of what's in the email and focus it, instead of on the 5 things that your program helps with, focus it more on that problem. And again, like in the way, and I'm riffing, but generally speaking, in the way I phrased that, it was problem, but in an effort to help that principal's school improve. And I think it kind of touches on that way of like, how do you not like remove their job in the process, or or disregard them in the process?
Haley had a question.
I just have a quick question on your opinions of signatures within email versus like quick thing on LinkedIn. So if she still wanted to include a scheduling link or her kind of proof of business case scenario with the video, could she put it in her signature, or do you recommend not doing that because then the signature is too busy? I don't personally do that right now. I'm just curious your thoughts.
It's not actually a question about how busy the signature is. It's a domain health and deliverability issue.
Okay.
So if you're not sending a lot of outbound, like fine. And by a lot of outbound, I mean like if you're sending maybe no more than 10 outbound messages a day, put it in your signature. You'll be fine. If you're sending more than that, absolutely do not include any links at all of any form. Do not include attachments. Do not include pictures in at least your first email, probably your first 2 emails, because you are really jeopardizing your opportunity to get into the primary inbox, which then messes up your domain health. You can check your domain health for free. You can just like Google it and check it, and so you can kind of get a starting point to work with. An audit that I might offer all of you, if you want to go home after this and look at a few of your emails to see if you are writing emails that are more like product centric versus problem centric, is simply looking at how much I, we, our language you are using versus they, their, us language. And so if you look at this email, it's, I'd like to invite you on a journey with me. I'm an educator, like our program, we offer our program. And so by trying to hold yourself accountable to talk about them and their problem at least twice as often as you are talking about you in any like, I, our, we language, that is a really, really helpful audit to like compel you to shift around your sentence structure and maybe even bring you back to the drawing board to ask like, well, have I gotten to the root of their problem, or am I just sort of talking about features or those like superficial save time, save money, reduce risk type of benefits? And you may want to explore that, like what have I included in this that earns the right to ask them for their time and their consideration?
The polyvagal theory, I don't know this market so well to be able to say like you would need to have that or not, but maybe that's something that doesn't need to be known right up front. Perhaps it's what they find out once they're actually meeting with you, or it's in follow-up content that they're getting in the.
Or it's a LinkedIn
or
instead of.
Yeah. So I think the lesson here would be less is going to be more. I also think you can write a little bit more like. You don't want to be colloquial to the point that it's that example I shared at the beginning of this where the person's like, I don't listen to your show, LOL, right? That's not what you want to be, but you can write it more like you're writing a friend who you have respect for, writing to a friend you have respect for, because that's going to sound more like an email that they're like that they would want to read too. The more formal you make it, the more it looks like a sales email. Anything else you want to share?
I do like that there's an offer in here. There's a free pilot.
What other questions do folks in the audience have?
What do you have against bulleted list and numbered list? Just curious.
Like so many things. It was, the question was, what do you have against bolded lists and numbered lists? First, I will share that the day that I found out that they were decimating my email engagement and reply rate was a sad, sad day for me. Like I had to take a beat. I had to go for a walk because prior to that, like I was the queen of everything had 3 bullets. Everything that I wrote had 3 bullets because my little neurodivergent brain was like, oh, this is such a cute little way of organizing my thoughts. 2 things were actually happening. One is that I'm setting off the prospect's mental spam filters because it looks like a sales email, like a stranger is writing out to them and it's like, I'd like you to come on this journey with me. Here are 3 things about our program. So I'm first of all immediately telling them this email is probably not worth your time because it's a sales email. And maybe I'll take one step back and remind folks that prospects do not read our emails, they scan them. And so the average amount of time right now, 2025, that prospects are reading or scanning our emails is 9.6 seconds. At the executive level, that's 3 to 4 seconds. So they are literally like, if we are lucky enough to write strong preview text and get an open, they are doing a quick scan. So if they scan and see bullet points and it's from a stranger, their brain says sales email, it gets deleted. But the other reason is that if you feel like you have to have 3 bullet points, you're just putting too much into a single email, and each of those bullet points needs to be its own singular thought and its own email. Yeah, great question. Thanks for that.
So to clarify, it's that initial email, cold email that shouldn't have that much content that it requires bullets. But if you're responding to specific questions or future correspondence, maybe that's okay.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so the question was, is this a cold email rule or is this an all email rule? And it is cold email specifically. So if a prospect writes back and they say, can you give me details on XYZ, you could toy around with some bullet points, but I do think it's really important that we always come back to understanding that we are like fighting against cognitive overload at all times. So even in our reply emails, we want to keep our sentences 1 to 2 paragraphs. We want to include white space. We want to have one singular call to action. So we want to keep a lot of the same rules, but they are rules benched in behavioral psychology and how our prospects' brains are reacting to our messages. Yeah, great question.
Luke? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. One other thing I just thought of coming back to what you were saying before about the I, we, our language versus the, sorry, I'll talk a little bit louder. The I, we, our language versus like the you, your, what was the other one?
They, them.
Yeah, like it's like the buyer first language versus the seller first language.
Yeah.
All of that, and the part I'll add is, but if it makes your sentence no longer make sense, say I. Like,
Or don't just remove I
Yeah.
and write the same
Yeah.
sentence and think I've done it.
yeah, but like, because I've gone through this exercise a lot, and I'm like, you can put together an email where you're following that, but then there are times where the sentence just collapses if you don't use I or my or we or ours. So where it really does work, if it totally distorts the meaning of the sentence, don't put that much pressure on yourself to like, oh my gosh, I said I, this whole email is screwed now. Like, it's just, generally speaking, you want to make it more about them than it is about you.
Yeah.
Luke.
You know, what are some of your thoughts around subject lines? Right? I
Ooh.
think that is like one of the biggest struggles is to just get emails open in the first
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how do you write a compelling subject line that actually gets somebody to engage with the email for 6 to 9 seconds. Right?
Yeah. So the question was about subject lines. I think you have some new data on this, right?
So much data on this. Okay, I'm going to share some of my favorite ones specifically that you all can still, but I'm going to take us back to the 110-100 rule. So 1 was the call to action, 10 was the preview text, 100 total words. So the preview texts are going to be those first words that the prospect reads, so your subject line and then the first few words of the email. We're at about 30 to 80 characters that we're getting in preview text, so it's about 10 words. So I think 10 words is a lot easier to remember than 30 to 80 characters. But I emphasize how important it is to dial in your preview text by reminding you how many people now check their emails on an Apple Watch, right? So now we're at like 20 to 38 characters on an Apple Watch. So you really have to make sure every single word matters. It's why I make a personal rule of not starting emails with I language, because I want them to hopefully see themselves in those first few words of my email. Although, you know, to be fair, I'll probably send out a lot of emails in the coming weeks. It's like, I am a USA Today best-selling author. Give me your money. So, you know, we all break our own rules. But try not to do I language unless it's essential. Do everything you can to help them be seen in those first few words of the email. But what I would say is that subject lines are significantly less important than the overall preview text, because you can write a baller subject line, but if the next sentence is, I hope this email finds you well, like, it simply does not matter how good your subject line is. Okay, a few of my favorite subject lines. Thank you is a forever top performer for me, and it is thank you, and then it will be like a speech that I went to, if there's a podcast interview I listened to, something they wrote on LinkedIn that is relevant to what I want to say next. Like, thank you for sharing that on LinkedIn. I've been thinking about that a lot in the context of XYZ problem. Here's what other people are saying about it. You know, interested in a chat. I love thank you. It gets crazy high open rates. And probably my favorite is publication : keyword. So it would be like Reuters : sustainability, like WSJ for Wall Street Journal : supplements. So one keyword that's hyper relevant to your persona, and then a super famous publication. It has to be like a Forbes, a Harvard Business Review. I have had a tremendous amount of success throughout my career doing deposit emails where I literally don't ask them for anything. I just build value and relevance. I build the opportunity to earn the right to later ask for their time by giving. And instead of putting the pressure on myself to like write the best blog I've ever written, I just go and find something great from a prestigious publication. That subject line, like I have tested it from like SMBs to like Fortune 100 executives on all personas, and it is a winner. So still that, and then report back.
We haven't really talked about this, but you did mention it just now, is that first line. So many emails will say things like, hope this email finds you well.
And then you throw them into the night MMA ring.
Like the pleasantry as the first line in the email. I actually like what I saw recently, someone saying, cross it out, I hope this email finds you well. I hope this email finds you in a well.
Nice.
Like, be fun.
I feel like that would be a good pattern interrupt.
Finds you petting dogs.
Yeah.
Like something. This email finds you well.
Or like instead of like, I'd love to be like, fight me on this, but no, just kidding. But strip away those like introductory statements that are in a lot of emails. Like I'm blanking on the other one. Hope this finds you well is a common one, but there's others.
Like,
there are other tropes that are.
I just saw.
Yeah. Although the just saw can work if it's about something that they did. Like that email that I shared before.
But then don't say I just saw. Say your LinkedIn post.
Yes.
Podcast.
Yeah. Or another way you can do that is, if it is I just saw, just take I out of it, and then it's just saw this thing that you did. No, but that is what I had success with, right? Right? Like, I took the I out of it, and it was just saw this. And the sentence still made sense. And it was what I watched, not what I sawed off in half either.
Saw post, want money, meet soon.
Calendly link. Michelle.
I think like going back to your first or your best outreach email, you said that you shared a video, and Screencastify creates videos. So I just want to put a plug in there. That Screencastify helps you create the best outreach email.
Ooh, look at that.
But I want to say for the subject line here, I get so many emails. I get like prospect, and I delete by subject line. I just like go through, I see all the unread ones, I just click and then delete. And there's some subjects that really stand out. I have responded with some that are very short, like 3 words, like a thank you, or and like super personalized, that I know they did something, or they know someone that I know, and like made that the intro. But
Yeah.
I think like, this whole thing resonates really well.
Oh, good. And that's straight from a CEO's mouth of a, how many?
Video,
Yeah, exactly.
I think you make an incredibly important point, though, that often when we're sending
I
cold,
delete my own team's email by accident.
I do not open my inbox to find emails to read. I open my inbox to see what I can delete without a second thought. And I think so often the folks sending emails have never managed an inbox that looks like maybe some of our inboxes. I vividly remember the first time I got a director title, and I went from getting like 100 emails a day, and then all of a sudden I was getting like 400 emails a day, both because I had a huge amount of additional internal responsibilities, but just bumping up to like an executive title, everybody and their mom was like, psst, I'd want to talk to you about your car's extended warranty. And it was so overwhelming that I would open up, and if there was a subject line that did not look like it was something that was for me, I just deleted it. Like, I just, with no remorse, I deleted all of them, and that's still how I manage my inbox. And I think this just is occurring to me now, but I think one of the reasons that thank you has probably worked so well for so long is the point that you were making about feeling important. Like we're just little dopamine seeking creatures. And that's such a good dopamine hit to open your inbox, see something that says thank you, and you're like, for what?
Yeah.
Sure, what do you, like, tell me about it. And then you go on to say something nice about something they've created or something that they said. And you're warming them up because you're keeping it relevant. It's not disingenuous. You're not saying, you did nice thing, here's my widget. So it's like really scratching that little dopamine itch.
One thing I want to add into this that we haven't really talked about yet is my opinion on how you should reference your existing customers in an email to show like, hey, we've done this for this person, this person, this person. I wrote an article on this about this several years back, which, funny enough, I wrote the article, used the article as a touch point to then send a cold email and get a customer out of it. But basically, the premise here is, I call it the X to Y paradox. So a lot of the emails that we send, we tend to, like that section where we're like, we've had success with customer A and B and C, and we tend to show like or reference the best examples of success that we've ever had. And it'll be like, so-and-so got 400% ROI, in just 45 days or whatever that might be. And it's great because we're like, oh, we got to prove that what we have actually really does work. But the concept here is you have the person you're emailing, their current state is X. And then if you give them the best examples you have of your own customer success using your software or your product, that is a state of Y. And there's too much of a gap between X and Y. And so now it sounds unbelievable. I'm not saying you're lying. What you're saying is true, but to someone who doesn't know you, it just sounds too good to be true. And what that person's going to do is rationalize against the information you put in front of them. They are either going to say in their head, yeah, what did you have to fudge to make that number look that good? Or in their head, they're going to say, or they're going to say, but that might have worked for so-and-so, but our situation's unique, so it wouldn't work for us. They're going to do one of those two mental responses. They're going to dismiss it because it just seems too good to be true. And there's a sweet spot in the middle that I call X plus 1. So it's referencing examples of incremental gain, not the most possible gain your customers have ever experienced. An incremental gain oftentimes can look like what happened in the first few weeks if there was a big win, or it could be qualitative, not direct quantitative win. So a way you could phrase that could be like, this worked really well for so-and-so, and afterwards they said this about it. So that's a qualitative result. You can't really dispute someone's quote, right? And if you're using that customer's language, the person you're reaching out to may also use that same language when they think and speak. Or you don't even necessarily have to say what result they got. You could just instead say who else used it and why they used it. Like, hey, this worked really well for customers A, B, and C who also had these kinds of issues. So now you're actually making it relevant back to the problem, not to the result. So keep that in mind, because a lot of what's out there is, and that just people blast and doesn't really get responses, is this like, we helped so-and-so get, triple their revenue in the first 90 days. And you're like, yeah, and again, maybe it did happen, but people won't believe you because they don't know you yet. And it's like that earn the right thing. You got to earn the right to even talk about. And I know it seems like it's unfair, but you got to earn the right to even talk about your best examples that you've ever had of customer success.
You do. One of my favorite sort of deep cut nerdy topics is the balance of ROI language to COI language, which is cost of inaction language. And unequivocally, early in your cold sales outreach, that is where we tend to see the most ROI language, and it's where it works the worst. Because we have not earned the right to ask somebody to trust that those results are true. And we've also simply not earned the right for us to like they don't care about what we've done for our other clients at that point. They're still extraordinarily centered on the problems that they need to solve, which is why cost of inaction language tends to work better early in your cold outreach. I'm not saying go like hardcore Chris Voss and start like nagging people and telling them their website is terrible. We're not picking on people and we're not bullying them. But when used correctly, cost of inaction language shows such a deep understanding of the problems that they are tackling, because you know what the outcome of inactivity against it is. So I love that. I sort of think about it similar to how I do my like CTA lights, is that I will do cost of inaction language at first, and then I'll make it a little bit heavier, and then I will pivot to more ROI type language with a lot of social proof peppered in.
So this is
entire
why
way.
clearly we need to have a second cold email summit.
You're like, wrap it up,
We
wrap
are
it
at
up.
8:15. I think we will have to do a second one of these. Any concluding thoughts? If not, I think we should thank Therese. We should thank our sponsors, and of course, we should thank y'all for coming and riffing a lot on cold email.
Thanks, guys.
Any parting wisdom aside from?
Buy my book.
Yes, there we go. Call to action, not mine either. Heavy call to action.
Have I earned the right to ask you to buy my book?
Is there a Calendly link for that?
I do have a QR code.
Did you
with
bring
me.
them, or are you doing a signing?
I have the pen, but no books, because I brought the pen just to sign Raj's book.
And I forgot to bring my book.
Forgot
I had this whole thing in mind. We would like prop it up right here.
I have the QR code. My darling husband, perhaps get it out and stand at the entrance and bark people's
Yes. Yes, profit-generating events, yes. Yeah, I know. I think we covered a lot of ground in this. I hope it was useful for all of you. I would actually ask, rather than my takeaway, I would love to just hear what's one thing all of you plan to do differently or took away from today. You can just shout out answers.
Learn how to rap.
Sure, learn how to rap. Yes.
I'm a hardcore bullets point person, even if it's a super short, just same thing. That's the way my brain likes to see things. So that's gonna be a hard thing to stop doing.
All right, no more bullet points. That'll be hard to stop. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Problem focused, not product future focused. I feel a lot of cold emails we've been sending, not only from us but from our porcos, are very feature heavy.
Uh-huh.
That's probably why we're not getting responses. So
Problem focused over product and feature focused. Let's go.
I've heard it called cost of inaction before. We used to call it FOMO.
Yeah.
It's actually a better way of saying it.
Yes, COI. Not certificate of insurance, but cost of inaction.
I feel like I was like, oh god, no.
As an event marketer, you know all about that.
I work in insurance. For
Okay, okay, all right. Let's get one more. Anyone else have a parting takeaway thought?
First 10 words.
First 10 words are very important. Thank you. You want to take us home, Sid?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, like I said, we'll have to do another one of these. As Raj and I mentioned, there are a few more events coming up. So if you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, get on the WhatsApp, and we're looking forward to seeing you there.
Yeah. And remember, we got September 16th is the All-Stars Pitch Battle event. And if you want to get on the pitch training before then to participate in that event, it is a paid boot camp. I can give you the information on that. Thanks to HubSpot, it is a nearly 50% off training. And through that, you'll get to participate in that awesome pitch event. And we're going to get a lot of people out for that event, so it'll be great. Thanks, Leslie.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Screencastify.